In last place is Evolution. This album is simply awful. Bad production, cheesy ballads, lots of filler, repetitive lyricism. I just have nothing to say about this one besides it being terrible. Their cover of Sound of Silence got so much mainstream attention, so they made an entire album full of it. What a huge mistake that was. Evolution ended what would have made them the first band in history to get 6 #1 debut albums. Barely ahead of Evolution is Divisive. Everything that I said about Evolution, besides the ballads, can be applied to Divisive. Half of the songs are about cancel culture. I get it, David. Cancel culture is bad. No need to make half of an entire album about it. Not to mention the awful production. That makes it sound more like a dubstep album than a metal album. Can you imagine getting rid of a producer like Kevin Churko just to replace them with another person that basically does the same thing? What were they thinking? The drums sound fake, the guitar is so flat and clean, and the bass is barely audible. Up next is Immortalized. This is way better than Divisive and Evolution, just to be clear. This has some great songs like The Vengeful One, Immortalized, Save Our Last Goodbye, and Legion of Monsters. I would go as far to say that The Vengeful One is one of Disturbed's best songs. Sadly, the album isn't without cons. Firstly, the production is really clean and squeaky, similar to Evolution, which really gets rid of that metal edge of the previous albums. Secondly, there is a lot of filler like Who, You're Mine, and Fire It Up. This is where it starts to get good. The Sickness was Disturbed's debut album, and while being good, is far from flawless. The album starts off with some great songs like Voices, The Game, and Stupefy, but the second half is mostly noisy filler. Shout 2000 and Dropping Plates are probably some of their worst songs. Another criticism I have is the all too often monkey yelps that Disturbed is known for. It can really take away from the overall experience of the album. I do, though, enjoy the experimentation with electronics to add to the ambience of each song. Overall, not a bad debut album. Okay, now this is where we start getting to the all-time classics. Asylum was Disturbed's 5th album, and it's simply a classic. There is only one skip on this album, and that's Ishwilf. This album has some of their best songs like Asylum and Warrior. Another Way to Die and The Infection are also great songs. My only critique is how similar it is to Indestructible, making it seem like a collection of high-quality B-sides. Despite its few flaws, I still absolutely adore this album and the 3 before it, which I will get into next. Supposedly, after writing the 3rd song, the band took David aside to ask him if he was doing well because of the dark songwriting. There was a lot of emotion spilled into this album, and that's part of what makes it so good. Next up is Believe, which I believe to be a flawless album. It's very underappreciated, and I just don't understand why. It's got some great songs like Prayer, Liberate, Awaken, and Remember. This album showed Disturbed slowly straying away from the new metal scene and maturing. This album has meaningful and uplifting lyrics along with melodic riffs. Something I appreciate is the lower amount of monkey yelps. This is, at least in my opinion, a big improvement compared to The Sickness. A very close second place is Indestructible. This album is where Disturbed perfected the already great formula they developed in the 2 albums before it. Indestructible has melodic riffs, engaging hooks, great choruses, and very impactful lyrics. Inside the Fire, Deceiver, Haunted, Torn, The Night, Divide. Every single song in this album is amazing, absolutely no skips or filler. A fun fact about Perfect Insanity: the song was written before The Sickness came out, and even had a demo released a couple years before The Sickness. I just want to take a moment to appreciate this excellent chorus from Deceiver. I can't express how awesome this album is. Number 1 is 10,000 Fists. I'm sure everyone saw this coming. This album is perfect. I love every single song equally. The production is great. The singing is amazing. The lyrics are impactful. It's overall just amazing. I can listen to nothing but this album for the rest of my life. It's that good. Disturbed really outdid themselves on this one. It's sad to see it score on Album of the Year. I like the combination of fast and heavy along with slow and melodic. Overall, this album is a timeless classic that can't be replicated. Can you believe David actually said that Divisive would turn out like 10,000 Fists? Funny how wrong he was.